welcome everyone to episode 5 of Today in the Scene. I'm Joe with Indie Arcade Wave, and this is my co-host Dylan from
Hey
Galactic
yo,
Battleground.
what's
Shout
up?
out to our sponsors, Can Arcade, everything arcade, music, and cannabis. This week we have the pleasure of speaking with Anthony and Steven, also known as NightRider. Thanks for joining us, guys.
Hey,
Yeah,
Yeah,
yo.
thanks for having us.
Yeah, thank you
totally,
so
totally.
much.
So you should just tell us a little bit about it yourselves, name, what you do, where we can find you.
Yep, so we're NightRider87. I'd say we started this project last year. It's gone through some revisions already, but we're streaming everywhere: Apple Music, Spotify. That's our favorite place if you can listen to us in one specific place, Spotify. Apple Music, Amazon, Google Music. YouTube, everywhere. So we're a little bit everywhere.
All the major
NightRider87.com.
streams, yeah.
Yep. So check us out. Appreciate you guys having us again.
Awesome, yeah,
Yeah,
totally.
thanks a lot.
Yeah. So what do you guys do outside of music besides, being in the synthwave scene, and just give us a little tidbits about that.
Me personally, I'm kind of all over the place. I'm into cars, and I own my own business, own my own auto detailing business. So that's kind of like the main focus for me.
Okay,
But
cool. Awesome.
And Anthony and I actually met many years ago. I mean, it's got to be 10 plus years ago through the car scene. We're both into cars. We've been out to the track together many times, racing and drifting. Our drifting is our thing. And we both have had different bands and stuff, and have never really combined this. And we're both always talked about, oh, we have these cool projects, we should do something together. And this kind of came into fruition. We're both
literally for years, yeah.
I mean, for many years we had been talking about this, and it's funny that it finally came out like this. No, but it's been so much fun. Anthony has a lot of experience. He's played in a lot of, his background is kind of metal, and he's an excellent guitar player, and he just has such a good stage presence. And him and I up on stage have just a great dynamic, and it's a ton of fun. We're up there and we're just having fun together. I mean, just our natural abilities and talents come out, and it's been a blast. So it's been cool for us to have been friends for so long from a way different background, and then bring into fruition in this. So I'm excited to see the future and what we've done so far. And
It's
yeah.
by far the most let's say carefree and least amount of stress out of all the projects I've been in. I'll just say that.
Right. I mean,
A lot more-
collaborating
lot
with
more
friends
laid
is
back.
so easy.
Yeah.
Yep, exactly. No, it's always hard, and you always have different personalities, and you're like, oh, I have this vision, and this is just kind of like, we're doing it to have fun. I mean, we'd love to make $1 million and get a giant record label, yeah, but you know what? It's not necessarily about that right now. It's just about having fun, going out there, making some music, and playing some shows.
But I'm not opposed to that.
Yeah, me too.
Nobody would be mad at that.
Right.
So you guys are talking about kind of like what you do outside of music. We have a lot of listeners that more are focused on the video game side, but we brought you guys in because you were working with Galactic Battleground, which, I mean, that's us. So,
Yeah.
but what is synthwave music? Like, a lot of people talk about it, and I feel like it's kind of making a resurgence right now. What would you describe synthwave music as?
I would say it's kind of a rehash of a lot of music that made the 80s culture, but more with a modern twist on it.
Very much so. No, I think that nails it, and it encompasses that whole. I mean, what was the 80s? Going to dance parties. I mean, look at all the amazing video games. I mean, that the 80s was really established in club culture and arcade. What it is today, and so to have that nostalgic feeling of going back to there, and not that I grew up. I mean, I was born in the 80s, but I didn't necessarily grow up and going out to arcades and clubs then. But it's still for me, like I was playing Super Nintendo and stuff, and just hearing the music on those games, and then hearing it today, it is like a modern version of that stuff that's more alive. I mean, it's to me, it's about the nostalgia and video games and stuff, and it's a ton of fun just to make it and to be part of this.
Definitely.
It's an awesome culture.
The evolution of it at itself is like, it goes from like chip tunes to Kavinsky, and then just like all of a sudden this like huge resurgence. And then Stranger Things comes out, and everyone's like, "Oh fuck yeah, vaporwave! Fuck
Yeah.
it's the tits!"
Right.
So, like, what is the community? I mean, like, I know it screams video games, and that's why like I wanted this to be a part of it. So we kind of just want to like figure out what is it like to be in the synthwave scene.
everyone's pretty open and welcoming. There's not. I've noticed. So I like Steven said earlier. I've been playing metal for a long time, so I've been a lot of metal bands and been in that scene for since I was like 14. Now I'm 31 now. So, but it's the differentiation is probably a lot less egos and more open mindedness, and people are just seem to be a lot more friendlier from my experience. So
Very
How
much
about you?
so. And even yeah, and even to add on to that, I will say, the synthwave culture and community is definitely very very bound. Everybody's supporting each other. It's not like, oh, I'm better than you, I can't help promote your stuff. I mean, everybody's promoting everybody else, and it feels like a one big whole family. But even more so on that, we're from the Portland, Oregon area, on the West Coast, and the scene out here is just amazing.
pretty
We
big.
have it's big, and there's a ton of amazing artists, and nobody's out to like, it's not like, oh, who's better than who or who's got the bigger dick or whatever. It's all about like, how can we all grow this together as a community?
Exactly.
Like it's been an amazing experience to be part of this stuff there. And I got to give a shout out to, to Sin City PDX. They've done such a great job for us, just helping us promote and grow while growing their own stuff, and other artists. They're bringing in a ton of big artists. They had the Neon Rose Fest for the first year last year, and had a bunch of really cool artists, Betamax and a bunch of other System 96, and they did a great job. And we were just starting out at that point with this, and they completely included us like we were one of the big guys. It's such an awesome community, and even just the
Yeah.
fans are so supportive. I mean, once they latch onto you and they've seen you at a show or two, they're like diehard fans. They'll go to bat for you. I mean, it is a totally different experience that I've had it, because I come from DJ stuff, and I used to DJ trance and clubs and stuff back in the day. And I mean, everybody. It's honestly, everybody's over like, oh, how do I get better than this guy, and how do I play with big names, or how do I open up and be the headliner? It's like
Exactly.
a
Everyone's just
hundred,
stroking egos,
180 degrees from that. Yeah, and everybody's like, how can we help support you? Like even producers like bouncing ideas back and forth, even if they're not collabing or anything. It's like, oh, hey, check out my song. It's a work in progress. Give me some feedback on it. It's like, oh, drums can do this or whatever. We're throwing ideas off each other. Like, oh, I found this awesome VST or this awesome new hardware. I mean, it is a totally different community, and I feel like it kind of goes back in the video game community, where it's like, if there's a deal on a video game, or it's like you want your friends to play, you're including everybody. It's not like you're just keeping it for yourself. And it's very much, I
I
feel like
never
it's the
thought
same way.
about that. It does feel a lot like the whole video game community too.
Right. I mean, because I mean, I feel like there's a crossover. Like, it's
Yeah.
the same people you're playing video games with, that you're out at the shows with. I mean, we have a couple fans out here, and we've been talking about Galactic Battleground, because we have the song coming out. You guys have some new stuff coming out, and this whole COVID thing kind of screwed everything up. But we're like,
Yeah.
oh, once everything goes back open up, we all want to get to a group together of just fans and some artists, and go down there and play, at Quarter World here in Portland. So,
Fuck yeah.
I mean,
That's awesome.
I mean, it is really cool. We can all get together and enjoy the same thing, and it's like I said, the community out here is amazing, and it seems to be the whole way with that across the world. I mean, there's people, on the other side of the world from us, and it is just one giant community, and I absolutely love it.
It's great.
We're glad to be
That's
part of it.
That's
Agreed.
awesome, man. That actually leads perfectly into what I wanted to ask you next. I wanted to ask you about this song Galactic Realms. So I know that we reached out to you guys looking for some music for our new promotion video, and we kind of just blindsided you and we're like, can you make us a song? I want to know what that process was like, from you deciding you were going to make the song to what you got us the first draft in like 24 hours.
Yeah, I mean, we were super excited. I feel like we like to jump at any opportunity, and not everything works out or like has the right fit for us. But you guys being an arcade game that we've actually been to and played, I mean, that was such a cool thing. We're like, oh crap! Like, our first album release party was actually at Quarter World, so to have a video game there, and you guys come approach us and you're like, oh, we want you to do a video game or a song for the video game we have there. I'm like, what the heck? Like, that's amazing! What an awesome opportunity.
Yeah. I love
You know,
Quarter World, so it's like a chance to put our little tiny sliver of stamp on a piece of
yep.
that. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
You
It's
know,
great.
and they have it's cool because outside of Quarter World they have the giant billboard, that you can see from Hawthorne. I don't remember the street it's on,
Yeah,
but
it's on
like,
Hawthorne. Yeah.
yep. And And when we did our album release party, they put our name up on the marquee and stuff, and so we have pictures of that. But just to go from that, which we had no connection with you guys at that point, to not only did we have our first album release party there, but now we're doing a song for a video game that's in there that we actually all enjoy, and it's a blast playing. That was such a cool experience. And as soon as that happened, Anthony and I got together, and we were just like, we just cranked out track after track. We're like, I know it's not polished or anything, but let's just get them ideas, and we were just going on.
We literally started throwing ideas, everything that we had in there, and just see what happens. So, all right. Yeah, I remember the discussion at one point. We're like, all right, let's give them options now. It's like, you make this song a certain style and make this song a certain style. So,
I tried to give you guys as much what I wanted, at least especially, but you guys fucking killed it, yo.
Yeah, knocked it out.
I really appreciate that. It was a fun
with 7 fucking options.
No, and I think that's one thing that worked well with Anthony and I is we can. So
when we put our heads together, the ideas just kind of naturally come out. It's really weird because I don't normally have that ability, especially a lot of bands I've been in. I'm like, hey, let's do this, this way, and then they always disagree. So it's nice to just we put our heads together. It's naturally comes out to what we both want it to sound like.
Yeah, that's so great.
It's fun, and that's what I think makes this a good dynamic. Is he brings a lot of that, and I love metal. Don't get me wrong and stuff, but he brings that such an awesome dynamic from that kind of edge of things, along with his influence of the '80s, and brings that in. And then I've got all this kind of trance and techno kind of background, and it just comes together. And I'm like, production stuff, and it fits so well together, and we can crank out ideas. And him and I know that not every song one's going to be a hit, or not every song's ever going to even make it to the end user or all of our listeners, and that's fine, and just having that freedom to just kind of, who cares, let's bang this off the wall, do this and this and this and this and this, and who knows, something cool might come out of it. And then look what did, we came up with this, and it was an awesome track. So it was cool. And one thing I really do appreciate about the song is, him and I worked on it, and this actually stemmed from some seeds of the original people that were in Knight Rider, because there's been a lot of stuff going on, but we had a guy who was first in Knight Rider a long time ago, who kind of sparked the seeds of things. His name was Eric, and and we took that and kind of turned it into what it is now. And so it was a long process, and for you guys to latch onto that song, it was really cool for it to be part of that. And so no, it is fun. We super appreciate the opportunity for us to be able to do this, and we're really glad that you guys ended up enjoying the song. We put a lot of heart and soul into this, and spent a lot of time on this one, crafting it.
Yeah, it was amazing. I'm sorry that COVID hit and we can't release it, but
nope, no, that's fine.
It'll happen. It'll happen.
It will happen. It was just it would have been a nice timing thing, right? For all what came out, because we wanted to pump the song and pump the trailer for all this, and that's fine. Not everything comes out, works out like that, but it doesn't matter. Hey, guys, we're gonna have another single coming out soon, and who cares? We pump that song and pump the trailer. Once the trailer comes out, and we're gonna pump it all over the place, so it doesn't matter.
It's gonna be kind of a research, so you're gonna pump this, and then you're gonna oh, here's the song. It'll work. Yeah. So this is a very specific question, and you can answer it in any way, shape, or form possible. But what are your favorite 3 albums, start to finish, and why? And this can be nostalgic or however you feel. And it's a tough question.
Steven, I'll let you go first.
Oh my gosh, dang it! The Knight Rider album. Wait, no, that's just our first album.
Our
album that's not out yet. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, right. Man, what have I been listening to lately? There's a guy, and this is kind of outside the synthwave realm, and I
that's
feel like
fine.
It's okay. Yeah, but there's an artist from England. His name's Climax, but it's spelled Klimeks or something like that. And it's kind of more hip hop based, but what would we call it? Trip hop, where there's no rapping over it, but it's such well done hip hop style music, and it's so full of stuff, and the synths he uses and the production quality, he's got an EP, I think it was one of his first EPs, and I can listen to that over and over and over again, and I absolutely love it. So that one would definitely be at the top of my list right now. Um, this is also kind of a weird one. I mean, I don't know why I've been on a hip hop kick right now, but there's another guy. His name's Yazik. He's like a D&D, a DM, dungeon master. He's the one kind of running the game, and he's got a rap album, but it's all kind of nerd rap about D&D and kind of stuff. But he's also got some political stuff in it. But I mean, and he's this kind of chubby white dude. But he doesn't try to like be like, oh, I'm some major hip hop. He's just doing his own thing, and he has very much his own style. And like lately, I mean, the last couple weeks, he's got one album out or something like that. But the album that he's got out, I mean, I've been listening to over and over and over again. I've been super on a kick of it, and it's been really good. And then probably the last album, it definitely falls under the synthwave scene, but Psych, who is Chaz, he runs the Synth City PDX thing. He just put out a new album called Requiem. I mean, that's a really good album. It's chill wave. It's a little bit different from what he's done in the past, but I mean, it's super good. Like, just to get into the groove, like while I'm working, I'll listen to that and just, it's mellow, but yes, has great melodies and good catchy tunes. And I've been super into that one. So I'd probably say, got the hip hop stuff going on, which is way different from anything we do. But then and then Psych, like I said, his new album that he just came out with, which it was funny enough, before all this COVID stuff, that was actually the last show that I went to. He had an album release show, and he played up there on stage at the Lovecraft here in Portland, and it was awesome. It was a ton of fun to go to that show, and glad we were out there to support him. But that album still sticks with me. I really enjoy it. So
awesome, dude. Yeah,
Anthony, I stalled long enough for you.
So for me, like I grew up, kind of a guitar nerd. So the first album that made a huge impact on me, like as a musician, was Rising Force from Yngwie Malmsteen. So that was like the album. I was like listening to it as a 13-year-old kid. I was like, I didn't realize anyone could play like that.
Yeah.
So I heard that, and then that's kind of what started me, just nerding out and just spending all my free time into playing guitar and focusing on that. And then as far as like a synthwave, newer synthwave artist, or new to me at the time, Perturbator's Dangerous Days album. That's kind of what it kind of blended the heavier side of music mixed with synthwave, and I was like, oh, that's freaking awesome. So
That's a good album.
that was another album that kind of changed my view on synthwave. I was like, hey, it doesn't necessarily have to sound happy to sound badass.
Yeah, totally.
So, and then the next one was probably if you're familiar with black metal at all, probably.
Oh, dude, black metal.
Yeah, that's so. I'm kind of a big like melodic death metal, black metal guy. So Migla's Exercises in Futility album was kind of like the one that changed. It changed up a lot from the black metal that was been going on for the past 15, 20, 25 years. So it kind of like gave it a newer tone and just switched up the norm for black metal. So even though it's not very old, it's only 5 years old, but that's when I noticed a lot of that whole scene was kind of changing too. And they were like the guys that, switched it up. So a lot of newer bands started coming out and following that sound. So.
Okay. Cool.
Well, I really liked the answers there. That gives me 6 new albums that I need to check out because I haven't heard any of those.
Yeah.
So I've got some music to listen to here.
Check them out, man.
I definitely will be. So we've already been talking about Quarter World a little bit and how you guys have some history with them. Now, we've been talking arcade here. So what are your guys' top 5 must-have arcade games in an arcade bar?
Number 1, Galactic Battlegrounds. Duh.
Good pick.
For sure.
Good pick.
I absolutely love Killer Queen too. Nice. Killer Queen's a ton of fun. You get the whole group together and we're all playing it, and it's ton of fun. And just like Galactic Battlegrounds, the whole multiplayer experience, it gives you an opportunity to meet new people. Because you only have a couple people. Like if I'm on a date with my wife, out at the arcade. Her and I are both playing, and somebody else can, another couple can join in or whatever. So not only is it a fun game to play, but it also gives you new opportunities to meet people. Bubble Bubble, I love that game.
About Joust, dude. That's like one of my
Ooh,
Joust is
Joust
one of my
is
favorites.
classic, dude.
Yeah,
Joust is amazing too.
that'll be my number 2, and then
What else?
probably Pac-Man. Pac-Man's always
Pac-Man.
awesome.
I mean, it's
Can't have
classic,
an
right?
arcade without a Pac-Man.
The multiplayer version, where you can
Oh,
the
yeah,
battle royale.
four people
Yeah.
can sit down. That's
Right.
You can eat each other.
yeah, exactly.
There's a couple old school racing games. Man, I have to look it up to find the name of it. But there's a game where it's not necessarily 3D, but the way the screen sits, it looks very much 3D, and it's literally just black screen with green lines, and all it is your reaction time to like turn left and right and stuff. Man, hold on, I have to look this up because I played that for hours. We were in Bend, Oregon on vacation one time, and there's a tiny little barcade that like it's like one row, or I guess you walk down an aisle and it's like 2 rows of one row on the left and row on the right of games, and that's all there is. And one of the games there, I'd never played it before, was this arcade racing game that it was amazing. And hold on, I'm gonna Anthony go with yours, and I'm gonna come find this name.
I'm already done.
What?
You only
Did you
did
do all
2.
yours?
That was my
Yeah, you
third.
only did 2.
Pac-Man, no, Pac-Man, Joust, and
Oh,
Battle
right,
Royale.
Joust. I'm surprised nobody said like Turtles or Simpsons or Galaga. Like,
Are you
Some
thinking?
of these
Galaga, it was up there. It was torn, but there's a couple awesome arcade racing games that I just love. I mean,
Okay,
coming
Tap-
from
I was,
though,
so
Tapper.
aside from your guys' game, I can replace that with another one. But
Yeah, do
Um,
it.
so a big one for me growing up as a kid was Primal Rage, even though that's kind of technically
Yes.
more 90s. But yeah, I
Still-
mean,
still
now
fits,
it's
man.
old school, right?
it's true.
It's not
Yeah,
about like
Primal
Wait.
Rage was my shit.
very, very underappreciated game.
Oh, I fucking love that game, dude. I had all
Kind
the
of just flew
characters
under the
too.
radar
I was
with like Mortal Kombat and all those. Just took the spotlight.
yeah.
Yep.
No, I was a huge action figure guy growing up too. So I remember they released all the figures from the characters, and they had like different variants, and I had all of them.
so. Have you decided on what you thought, Will? I mean, Stephen.
No, I couldn't find it. I was looking it up, but I can't find it. I mean, the other awesome arcade racing game that I absolutely love is Outrun. I mean, you
Dude,
can't go
Outrun.
wrong
Yep.
with that,
Yep.
right? Like that is so much fun just playing that. Just cruising
Yeah.
down. I mean, you can't get more synthwave than that in a classic arcade racing game.
Totally. So, what advice would you give to new and old music makers when you're making a song? Just like advice in general.
Uh,
Let me think of advice that I didn't get.
Okay, so I'll start with mine because I mean I feel like this is what I would advice I would give myself. Don't overthink it, man. Like just roll with it, because maybe this applies more to new music makers and old music makers, but like when you're getting started, you're so hung up on like, oh, is it the perfect mix, or do I have like the right this or right that, and is it have enough textures or all this, like you start
I still do
overthinking it. Right, and like you just can't like put something out there and make that as your starting point. Like if you never hit that starting line, you're never going to start. Like so you have to start somewhere, and you look at back at a lot of artists, like their first album maybe isn't as good as their other album, or maybe it like is as good because like they didn't have as much processing or overproduction or whatever. Like just get something out there and establish yourself. I think that's the most important thing. Like you can sit and spend weeks or months on a song and then never do anything with it because you're like, oh, it's just not perfect enough, or like you just don't have this right thing.
See,
It's
this
like-
is why Steven and I work well together, because he's that voice that's just like, we need to put this out. Like, just quit being such a perfectionist. And I was like,
No, and there's a balance there, right? And it's never like, oh, just throw out garbage and stuff. And there's production qualities and stuff. It's not that, but it's like
there
at some
sounds like
point.
trash.
No, but at some point, like, because even if it does sound like trash, guess what? You're going to continue to get better, and like you don't have as big as a following, so it doesn't matter as much. Like there's a balance in there somewhere. You do want quality production, but like you don't want to sit and overthink stuff. Because I mean I find myself doing that. Like even my own kind of side project stuff, like I'll sit and rehash a song over and over and over again, and I'm just like, I'm done working on this. Put it out. And like I end up listening back to it like a month later. I'm like, yeah, it's not half bad. Like because I'm not so involved with it, and part of it, you get that fatigue of just like listening to the same mix over and over and over again, and you're
Oh,
like trying to
fuck, that
dial
would
in these
suck.
tiny compressors or like this EQ, and you're like, wait, do I actually hear a difference here or
That's
not?
when it comes into the musician's mind and not necessarily the listener's mind, because stuff like that's so minute that it's like the average
Right.
listener who's not a musician is probably not going to notice that, but you as a musician is going to notice it. So it's like,
Right, and it's
the
going to put you in a
majority of
hole. I
people,
mean,
yeah, the majority of people listening to
analysis is
this,
paralysis, right?
Right.
exactly.
And that's just the thing. So you put something out, and then you go back and listen to it. You're like, oh, okay. I hear as you grow, you hear, oh, here's what I could have done better, and then you grow from that. But if you never start or establish yourself, put a stake in the ground and say, oh, this is my first track. You never have a starting point to get better from. So there's a balance of like, hey, let's start.
And we do synthwave, so if it sounds crappy, we can just be like, "Oh,
It's
make a retro.
nostalgic.
It's make a retro, guys."
Right.
We really went for that retro tone on this album. Yeah,
No, but I think that's the biggest thing is, use your ear. If it sounds good to you, not everybody's going to like your song. It doesn't matter if you're the biggest name in whatever or you're the smallest guy. Like, you're never going to have 100%. Everybody's like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing ever. Like, who cares? Like, don't overthink it and don't give a crap what everybody else thinks about it. If you're happy with it as an artist, great. Like I said, put your stake in the ground, run with it, and just move on and grow as an artist, we've talked about going back and like redoing some songs and things like this, and it's like, you know what, let's just leave it in the past, let's move forward and just become better from it. Let's not go back and rehash old songs. So that would be my advice as an artist, because I feel like I've done that enough times where I've like let songs sit and I come back to them like even like months or a year later, and I come back and like,
you're
what I
like,
had here actually wasn't that bad.
yeah, you're like, these are actually pretty good songs.
Right. I'm like, okay, there's a couple things I've learned in the meantime, like a couple EQ trick techniques or like some side chaining or some different things. And I'm like, oh, I'll do this to make it a little bit different and add some more depth or texture. But like, I'm really not adding a ton of value to this song. So I don't know, man. Put your stick in the ground. Just start putting music out there, and you evolve as you go along. That's my advice.
Yeah, as
Great
a
advice,
musician, and writer, you tend to get all these songs and clips of tracks on your hard drive, and then you listen to them because you really want to finish them, but there's a weird line where it feels kind of forced, so you kind of have to take a break from it, and then you come back and listen to it with fresh ears. But I've always thought about it this way. It's like, as a producer and a music maker, you get this small little window of time to kind of tap into that realm of, you're just a listener, and then you keep listening. The more you listen to it, it feels like you start to go back into the mindset of a music maker again, and then you kind of have to take another break from it. So it's like it kind of goes back and forth. So it's like, if you really want to come back to a song, you kind of take a break, go into it with the mindset of like, all right, I'm going to listen to it as fresh ears, and then see what I can tweak from there in that small window of time.
And that's super important to us. I feel like that we do a really good job of it.
Overworked. Yeah.
Right. I think Galactic Battlegrounds was one of the few songs that we had a deadline on and we pumped it out. We on our first album, the Arcade Nights EP, we're like a couple mixes and masters from getting the album wrapped up, but we had already stuck our stake in the ground and said, oh, this is our deadline. And we that was kind of a rush, but like since then what we've done is just written seeds of songs and kind of just let it sit for a little bit, kept on moving on. So what happens is now we have this whole breadth of a bunch of different tracks we can go to and like
that
come
are
back and listen.
Good,
yeah, and we come back and listen to it and we find something that like grabs our ear, and all of a sudden we knock it out in just a few days because it's like, oh, we haven't heard this in a while, and we know so much more. We've listened to a bunch of other inspirational music. We come back and we're like, oh, we know exactly what needs to happen to this track and knock it out in like 3 days flat. I mean, it's crazy to work like that, and I feel like we can get quality tracks that way, and it doesn't take a ton of time. So it's just like, like I said, it goes back to the thing. I mean, trust your judgment, trust your ears. I mean, lean on people if you want to, or feel like there's just some production proficiency things that you just don't understand how to do. That's fine. But like, just trust your own judgment, and again, put that stake in the ground and just start getting music out there. That's an important thing.
Totally. Yeah.
I like that advice. I think that's really good advice to new music makers, especially because with anything and everything, we overthink it, and it sits there, and there's not much you can really improve on. But I'm wondering, kind of along that same vein there, what is your guys' process? Like, what's the mindset? What's the atmosphere, the environment? What's your process to begin making a new song?
So there's usually alcohol.
Okay.
Not all the time.
You gotta feel it. You gotta be like, hey.
So we go to our AA meetings. No, I'm just kidding. But, no, it's we kind of just sit down and, you know, like for you guys, we had, you know, we were told that, you know, they kind of want this, so we had some sort of guideline to go by, and so we could kind of weed out the other stuff that we would normally come up with, and just focus on, you know, a certain vibe, as opposed to just writing something fresh. It's just kind of, you know, whatever comes out, and we'll get together. One of us will start, you know, I'll hear a melody or a bass line in my head. We usually try to start with the melody or a bass line first, because that's usually what the whole song's based around.
Right, it's that core, it's that root, exactly.
Yeah, if you have a strong bass line, something that's so me as a producer and writer, I always try to go for something memorable and catchy, because I feel like that's what makes good songwriting. Like, you can't really have a good song if your song's easily forgettable. Like, if people are going to forget about it, then, you know, it's a mediocre song in my book. So if you can write something, even if it's not super complex, like I feel like a lot of, at least the metal side of the world, the music world, has kind of gotten more into the technical, where it's like, you know, that market's only appealing to a small amount of people. But if you can write something that's, you know, kind of simple but memorable and still flows really well, then that's a good song in my book. So, but if you can be tech and write something like that, then, you know, that's great as well. But a lot of people, I think, tried to overthink that, and then it turns what they possibly could have had as a good song into something that's not as good. So,
yep.
No, so I start from the root and work where.
Just fill it out. Like, not necessarily have no direction, but just like start throwing layers on, like, oh, what pads would fit well with this, or like what's counter melodies, and not necessarily get super technical, but it's like, what are things that you can build off of them. I mean, we'll throw 10 things at the wall, we'll record them all and set them down, and then go back and like, okay, start doing some structuring. Start doing some arrangements and be like, oh, you know what, now that we've arranged some stuff out, like this melody doesn't fit as well as we thought it did, you know. And there, like I said, there's some proficiency in there. You want to do like calls and returns, like you have, you know, some melody and you want a counter melody playing against it or whatever.
If the average person probably heard us during the writing process, they'd probably be like, these guys are on crack or something, because we're like, oh, hey, this drum beat, like, oh wait, what about this melody, and then we'll take this away, and like everyone would probably be like, I cannot keep up with this.
No, it's all over the place, and like we have some process, like there's,
you know, when the ideas are there, you got to think fast and get it out, else you'll forget.
Yes,
it. So it's like,
exactly. You know, right? And you just start putting stuff down, and it doesn't matter if, like, we'll just record stuff and we won't like even polish it. It'll just be like a melody with like, oh, we missed a note or whatever, like, because we don't, it doesn't matter.
All mixing and mastering out the window.
None of that matters. And then once you have like the core of a song and you're like, okay, we have the vibe and what it needs to go, then we start like crafting, okay, what instruments actually fit and fill out this melody properly, and then what are the things that need to go underneath of it, and what basses, like if you have a really crunchy bass line with like a soft lead that's doing your melodies, like that doesn't work well together. So it's like you start actually building the sound design and the instrumentation around it. And then once you're like, oh, these instruments, okay, all these instruments sound good together, and we have all these ideas, now let's start doing some just basic arrangement. And again, it doesn't have to have any flow or anything. You just start doing, oh, here's a basic intro, here's your number one melody. More reverb on everything.
More reverb.
Here's one melody, here's two melody, here's three melody, here's four melody, and then you listen to a string and you're like, okay, these don't fit together, or you're like, oh, let's switch 2 and 4 to, on the opposite sides and do this, and then you start actually crafting it. But like my favorite part is just when we're throwing ideas at the wall and like there's not necessarily any process. It's just like throw an instrument on there. It can be just a sine wave or a square wave or whatever. Like, doesn't matter.
The idea of us writing to most people would probably look like a astrophysicist board.
You're taking a paint can and just throwing it on the wall. You're like, that looks good. Let's grab that section right there. And it's fun because we even have we have electronic drum set in our studio, and so we'll go up there and just like roll out some tom rolls, and we'll do sections or we'll do times where we're like, okay, we're not in the studio, right? We're just in the studio to do sound design, and we put all these presets aside that we build. We say, okay, this is if we ever do a chill track, like these are all things we're going to use for chill. If we ever do like a hardcore, more hard synth or dark synth track, this is the stuff we want to use. And like, oh, here's a cool bass line. And sometimes we'll just go in the studio without any kind of direction. Like we're not writing a song, we're just putting ideas down on paper that we can bring later. Anthony does such a good job like with the tom fills and stuff, and he like, I feel like I have like this one pattern that I use over and over again, and then he comes in, he's like, I'm like, oh my god, that sounds amazing, like, and I record it and I grab it and then I use it in every track or whatever. I'm like, this is amazing, Anthony, you got to build me a new tom roll or whatever. It's a ton of fun. There's times where it's serious and it's business and you got to get down to like, oh, we got to crunch out this track, and you're like, oh, like we got to EQ this little thing, it doesn't sound right, it gets all muddy when you put this instrument on there, and that's fine, and you have to do that stuff, I think, to put a quality track out. But there's my favorite times are when we're just like, we have no direction, we're in here just messing around, and just, he'll sit on the guitar, I'll sit on my guitar, and we'll just like play melodies against each other, or just like, oh, here's a chord progression I like, can he play something over it? I'm like, oh my god, that sounds amazing, and we'll just sit, record it, like, and just keep on moving on. We don't like have to like produce that into a full song.
And down the road or whatever. Yeah,
exactly. So, we're in, we haven't been at this, him and I together haven't been at this for very long, and, we're still building our workflow and stuff. But right now, we get caught up on, we're building the brand and all this stuff, but I feel like sometimes we get caught up on like, oh, we got to make sure it's all high quality, that we forget like, let's start with just having fun, because that's what the most important. If we're having fun and there's energy and emotion in these tracks, then it's going to flow over too.
If you look at it, some of the songs that I've heard from other like fans and people that like the music, they're, the songs that the majority likes are the songs that aren't really, I guess in our eyes, aren't anything too crazy. So
the songs that you let emotion kind of guide.
Yeah, exactly.
Energy flow, because that's the biggest thing with music is you can listen to so many different artists, and the artists that really, really connect with you on like a spiritual level is the one where you can feel the energy that they were making.
Exactly.
Yep. So I think we're ready to wrap this up. I'm going to give you guys a minute here. This is self-promotion time. So give us your socials. Let us know where to find you. Let everybody know where to find you.
Okay, so Instagram, which is our favorite place, we love promoting on there a ton. Instagram.com/NightRiderMusic. We're on YouTube, NightRider87. Discord, or not Discord, Spotify, NightRider87. Most of the stuff that you look up, if you just Google NightRider87, you can find all this stuff. NightRider87.com, we have a list of links to everything, our YouTube, Spotify, Instagram, Bandcamp, and even our Teespring, because we have some t-shirts and stuff like that. Just last Friday, we launched the Galactic Realms track, which is going to be used in the trailer for Galactic Battlegrounds, and we're super excited for it. It's a hot track, and we have some really exciting stuff coming up in the future. Collabs, new tracks coming out, new singles with all kinds of fun stuff going on, and then shooting to knock out an album and release an album at the end of the year. And then I think the big thing is, if all goes well and things start opening back up as COVID starts dying down, Neon Rose Fest 2021, so our 2020, the second round of it, there's going to be a bunch of artists, and we're super excited to play with them. So we are super excited. So check out Sin City PDX for more information on that, because that's going to be a big thing that we're totally excited to play.
Yeah, awesome. All those guys are pretty awesome. So for me is basically, for all the links that Steven said, and then I have my own side project, which is kind of like not really on the back burner, but it's like kind of chill, and I'm just going with it.
It is awesome though. What is it? What is it, Anthony?
Starcourt. So the name of the project's gonna be Starcourt, and the Instagram is Starcourt_official. So then I'm also on Facebook too. So it's just Starcourt.
Awesome. I'm going to be throwing all those links in the description below here on YouTube. If you're listening to this as a podcast at a separate time, you're going to have to go find the YouTube video, unless I can put that in the description. Really, really appreciate you guys coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having us, man.
Thank you so much for having us. It's been a pleasure. Ton of fun.
Oh, we'll definitely have to do it again.
Yeah.
Yep, let us know.
In the near future, when that album comes out. Hell yeah.
For sure. For sure.
All right. Peace out, everyone.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one. Bye. 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 Bye.